Okay, the question is, does working hard make you rich? And the answer is no. Working hard will never make you rich. And I know that sounds crazy because you have been told your entire lives that hard work is the key to success. Just work hard and you'll make it. But that's a lie. It's a lie that benefits rich people and keeps poor people working. Okay, you guys need to understand something really important. There are two ways to make money in this world. Rich people do work hard. That's true. Okay? If you're already rich, you work hard because you have something to work toward. But if you're poor and you work hard, you're just poor and tired. Does that make sense? And Jeff Bezos works hard. Elon Musk works hard. But they're not rich because they work hard. They're rich because they own things. They own assets that generate money while they sleep. The hard work, that's a side effect of being rich and having opportunities, not the cause of being rich, okay? Meanwhile, there's a woman in Bangladesh making your t-shirts who works 16 hours a day, 6 days a week in a factory with no air conditioning for $2 a day. Is she not working hard? She's working way harder than Jeff Bezos, but she'll never be rich because hard work doesn't create wealth. Okay, so let's get to the fundamental truth about wealth. There are two ways to make money in this world, okay? If you sell your time, you trade hours for dollars. This is what most people do, and this is called having a job, okay? And here's the problem with selling your time. You only have 24 hours in a day. You can't work more than 24 hours. And realistically, you can work maybe 12, 14, 16 hours maximum before you collapse. So your income is capped. Even if you work really hard and you get promoted and you're making $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year, that's good money, but you're still not rich. You're comfortable, maybe upper middle class, but you're not rich. Because to make that money, you have to keep working. If you stop working, the money stops. You're trapped in the time for money exchange. Does that make sense? And here's what's really crazy. The hardest working people in America are some of the poorest people. Construction workers, nurses, truck drivers, farm workers. These people work their asses off, physical labor, long hours, and they're broke. They're barely surviving. So clearly hard work is not the variable that determines wealth, okay? But if you own things, if you own intellectual property, then you make money while you sleep, okay? You're not selling your time, you're extracting value from things you own. And there's no limit to how much you can make because you're not constrained by the number of hours in a day. Jeff Bezos owns Amazon stock. Amazon is making money. While he's doing literally nothing, his wealth is growing because he owns something that generates value, okay? Okay, so now let's talk about why working hard keeps you poor. Because it's not just that hard work doesn't make you rich, it's that hard work actually prevents you from getting rich. Let me explain. If you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, when do you have time to learn new skills? When do you have time to invest in yourself? And you come home, you eat, you sleep, you go back to work, okay? If you're poor and you're working multiple jobs just to pay rent, you don't have that luxury. You're trapped in survival mode. All your energy goes to surviving, not to building wealth, okay? So hard work actually prevents upward mobility because it consumes all your time and energy. You're running on a hamster wheel. You're moving, but you're not going anywhere. Okay, so now let's explain this from the employer's perspective. Because employers love hard workers. They want you to work hard. Oh, you're such a hard worker. You're so dedicated. But why? Why do they want you to work hard? Because your hard work makes them rich, okay? Every hour you work, you generate value. But you only get paid a fraction of that value. The rest goes to the owner. This is how capitalism works, okay? Because wealth requires capital to start with, okay? If you're smart and you have a great business idea, but to start that business, you need $100,000. Where are you going to get $100,000? If you're poor, you don't have it. Your family doesn't have it. Your friends don't have it. Okay? So you go to a bank and you ask for a loan. And they say, okay, do you have collateral? Do you have assets we can seize if you default? And you say, no, because you're poor. You don't have assets. So they say, no loan for you. Or maybe they give you a loan, but at 15% interest because you're high risk. So now you're starting your business already in debt, paying crazy interest rates. Okay? And even if you somehow get the money, you still need a network. You need people who can help you. Okay? And if you're poor, you don't have that network. You don't know people with money. You don't know people with connections. You're starting from zero. Okay? But if you're rich, you have the network. Your parents' friends become your first customers. Your college roommate introduces you to an investor. Your family friend knows a lawyer who can help you. The network gives you a massive advantage. And you can't build that network by working hard at a factory. You build that network by being born into it. Does that make sense? And here's the biggest thing. Poor people can't afford to fail. Okay? If you're poor and you start a business and it fails, you're bankrupt. You're homeless. Your life is over. Or you try once, it fails, and you never try again because you can't afford a second attempt. Okay? But if you're rich and you start a business and it fails, so what? You move back in with your parents for a bit. You get money from your trust fund. You try again. Rich people can fail 5 times, 10 times. They have a safety net. And eventually, one of their attempts succeeds. And then we celebrate them as, quote, self-made entrepreneurs who, quote, never gave up. But we ignore the fact that they could afford to keep trying. Poor people can't. Does that make sense? Capitalism needs workers. The system needs people to work in factories, to work in stores. If everyone owned businesses, quote, the system would collapse. Someone has to do the actual work, okay? So the system is designed to create a large class of workers who sell their time. And to keep those workers working, you tell them that hard work leads to success. You tell them that if they work hard enough, they can get rich too. You give them just enough hope to keep them trying, but you never actually let them get rich. Because if they got rich, they'd stop working. And the system needs them to keep working. Does that make sense? This justifies inequality. If we live in a meritocracy, then rich people deserve to be rich because they worked hard. And poor people deserve to be poor because they didn't work hard enough. It frames wealth as a moral issue. Rich people are virtuous. Poor people are lazy. And this prevents poor people from getting angry at the system. Instead, they get angry at themselves. They blame themselves for being poor. Does that make sense? But it's a lie. It's an oligarchy. Wealth comes from ownership, not from merit. And ownership is inherited or acquired through luck and connections, not through hard work. What actually makes you rich? Okay, so if hard work doesn't make you rich, what does? Let me be very clear about this. There are only a few ways to get rich, okay? Number 1, ownership. You have to own things. Something that generates income without you having to trade your time for it. This is the most reliable way to build wealth, okay? But here's the catch. To own things, you need capital to start with. You need money to buy stocks. And if you're poor, you don't have capital. So you're locked out of the primary wealth building mechanism. Does that make sense? Number 2, inheritance. Be born rich. Inherit money, inherit property. This is by far the easiest way to get rich. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be born to the right parents, okay? But obviously you can't control this. If you're already born, it's too late. This option is not available to you. So let's move on. Number 3, luck. Get lucky. Be in the right place at the right time. Meet the right person who gives you an opportunity. Start a business that happens to go viral. Okay, this happens, but it's random. You can't plan for it. You can't work hard to make it happen. You just have to be lucky. And most people aren't lucky. So this is not a reliable strategy. Number 4, exploitation. This is the dark one. You exploit other people's labor. You start a business and you pay your workers less than the value they produce. You extract the surplus value as profit. The harder they work, the richer you get. Okay? This is how most businesses work. This is how capitalism works. Someone owns the business, someone else does the work, and the owner takes the profit. And the bigger the gap between what you pay workers and what they produce, the more profit you make. Does that make sense? So you can get rich through exploitation, but that means making other people poor. It means benefiting from the same system that keeps workers trapped. And morally, that's pretty questionable. But it works. Lots of people get rich this way. Okay, so why will working hard never make you rich? Because wealth comes from ownership, not from labor. Because you only have 24 hours in a day, so selling your time has a ceiling. And the hardest working people in America are some of the poorest. Because employers profit from your hard work, not you. Rich kids inherit capital, and poor kids inherit nothing. Because you need money to make money. And if you're poor, you don't have money to start with. Okay? And the really depressing part, the system wants you to believe that hard work leads to wealth. It needs you to believe that. Because if you stop believing it, you might stop working so hard for someone else. You might start demanding better wages. You might start demanding ownership. You might start questioning why the people who work the hardest make the least, and the people who own things make the most. Okay? Now, does this mean you shouldn't work hard? No. You should work hard at things that matter, at things that build ownership, at things that build skills and opportunities. But don't work hard thinking that hard work alone will make you rich. It won't. Work hard strategically. Work hard toward ownership. Work hard to build something you own. But don't just work hard for someone else and expect to get rich. That's the trap. That's the lie. Okay? The path to wealth is ownership, not hard work. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you can stop wasting your energy on the hamster wheel and start focusing on how to acquire ownership. Even if it's small, even if it's just buying a few shares of stock, start building ownership because that's the only way out. Does that make sense, guys? Okay.